Good morning, everyone. I'm Traya, and I will be your presenter for today. Today, I will discuss about Lesson 26, Gender and Media. Lesson objectives. At the end of the discussion, the students should be able to discuss the importance of media representation and appreciate the progress in media representation of gender. Communication is the process of exchanging information and co-creating meaning through various means. So, ang communication karon kay importante kay without communication, dili ta magkasinabot ug maupod ni ang way para magkahiusa ta. Mapa-verbal or non-verbal man dako kayo og impact ang communication sa atoa labi na sa atong society. In daily life, communication enables us to connect with people, share our experiences and needs, and strengthen our bonds. It gives us the chance to communicate our views, share information, and express our emotions. All of us must communicate. Media means through which information is transferred and received. Media is the very source of mass communication. Media plays the most informative role in our society. Through different forms of media, dali rata maka-communicate sa tuang family, relatives, and friends. It is the main thing of mass communication. It has various forms such as the internet, through which we can get updated news about the world in our grab just with a click of a finger. Ang media ang nag-provide og information to the public by forming their own standards and viewpoints. Gina-influensya ng mga tao on how to conduct their lives. In doing so, the media influences the public and sparks various social movements. Each individual in the society ma-identify ang impending changes through sa paggamit sa media. According to the Philippine Statistics Authority, 81% of Filipinos watch television, and it still remains to be the most used and trusted source of information in our country. So daghan jud kaayo og nagatanaw sa TV. It is because naay soap operas, news and entertainment programs. Valid pud ang mga information nga ilahang ginabalita, especially sa mga katigulangan. Mao gyud ni ilahang ginatuuhan nga legit ang mga balita or sa radyo. TV offers viewers more accurate news that's provided by professional journalists or reporters. So this means that audiences consume information that is credible and authentic. Media representation is how the media presents or frames aspects of society such as gender, age, or ethnicity. Media representation is how people, institutions, events, or facts are depicted in the media. It is accepted as a concept related to how issues or problems are explained to the public and how a causal link is established. Examples sa media representation is representation of monarchy through media portrayal sa royal na pamilya sa UK. Media represents the king as the head of the country. So kani mao ang nagpa-strengthen sa national identity as the royals are part of national events. So naapoy bad media representation. For example, people being outed as LGBT in the press without their consent. So mao ni silang mga trans activists or candidates receiving online abuse because of their gender identity, racial stereotypes and assumptions, and the media's obsession with what women politicians wear to work. Tungod sa tuwang exposure sa TV, the media ultimately represents our social realities as it mirrors the ideologies, belief system, and stereotypes. One of the most important aspects of representation in the media is that it can help show that more than one story or culture can be visible at once. In the past, one group of culture was often shown in the media at a time. For example, if a book was sent in India, no other culture would be shown. Media stereotype are simplified representations of a person, groups of people, or a place through basic or obvious characteristics which are often exaggerated. Stereotyping means unfairly grouping all people with a certain trait. In the media, people and groups often stereotype because of their age, gender, race, or culture. For example, children are often represented in the media as victims or as cute attachments to adults. Na ako i-share ng movie sa inyo mo ni ang famous scenes of trans woman used slowly to scare the audience from 1991 movie. So ang title ani is The Silence of the Lambs. Ang serial killer is gihimo niya og wig ang scalp of one of his victims, got dressed in women's clothing and swayed to music in his home. The actions of putting on a wig, applying makeup and dressing in feminine clothing is a process that a lot of trans women are familiar with. But this film presented that experience as the epitome of horror. This stereotyping paints trans people, a group already heavily discriminated against by society, as evil social outcasts. Even when studios typecast LGBT characters in a less negative light, they still put a box around people who identify with this community and put pressure on them to meet society's standards of how they should look and act. The Silence of the Lambs and the story of a woman succeeding in a man's world of having to feed off advances, master emotions, placate her superiors, and minimize her femininity and sexuality to rise. The lesson there is that we hold onto our deepest secrets tightly. Whether we have a mental illness or afraid of showing our true gender, we think we are most afraid of how others will react if they see our truth, but that isn't our greatest fear. We are most terrified by the thought of holding a mirror up in front of our face and seeing the reflection of the person staring back at us. Our own self-judgments are much more frightening and crushing than anything lector might think about us. So, ang media stereotype is makatabang siya sa tuwa to connect people with the content as they reflect in their own realities. So, naapoy negative effects ang media stereotype. Mostly, ang mga LGBT community jud ang maapektuhan, it reinforcing negative and even false stereotypes. The LGBT community are highly misrepresented in the Philippine media. Usually, kay kanang mga comic relief nga ginaportray ang bakla, mga lalaki na straight pero nag-act sila na bakla with exaggerated gestures, the sex-deprived muscular male, homosexual, or the awkward tomboy who eventually nahimo og feminine woman after makakita og lalaki na dugay na nila gipangandoy. Few LGBT celebrities in the Philippines were out and proud of their sexual orientation such as Boy Abonda, Vice Ganda, Isa Segura, and Zake Cyrus. Their sexuality is rarely the focus of the programs they are in. The AIDS pandemic in the 70s also added to the negative stereotyping of the gay male as a sexual deviant. However, due to the pressure coming from the gay and lesbian liberation movement in the 1970s, the international media was forced to recognize and set media standards for LGBT news coverage. Sa Pilipinas, lack jud og sogi awareness ang mga media practitioners. Malibog pa sila sa terms and labels sa LGBT. Mga controversy na news is katong mga singers na si Charis Pangpenko, which is Zake Cyrus na iyang name karon, and Isa Segura. To sum it up, media representation of the LGBT is double-edged sword. These stereotypes can make people appreciate the existence of LGBT people. However, it can lead them to overgeneralize and trivialize their realities. It is important to learn how to spot a stereotype in the media so we can be critical on the false representations of real people. Every person experiences the world differently and possesses similarities and differences with others. But everyone also deserves to feel visible and respected. They also deserve to have their perspectives reflected and affirmed in the media they watch. Representation matters so that the full story can be told and so you don't have a one-sided story that isn't a fair representation of a diverse population. The media needs to represent the society that it serves because if people don't see themselves, then it's almost like a lack of care that's communicated to people. Thank you everyone for listening. Mag-send ko quiz sa to ang GC later.